see the color running through your veins, and I can't breathe, and everything you do is bad. Love me.
Opportunistic, still rubbing panels as they go together. It's folded the wing mirror in on Gerardo's car.
Misano is such a difficult circuit for these guys to get right. There's a lot of start-stop sections around the back. It's a very, very quick section as well.
It's a fantastic start from the 23. They're 4 wide there by the look of it. Good evening, everybody. Hello again. It feels like forever, doesn't it? My name is Chaz Draycott, and welcome to the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. We're into the second half of the season now, and we are very much getting closer and closer to crunch time with every turning lap. It's really exciting to be here at Circuit de Spa Francorchamps. Absolutely legendary place in the world of motorsport. And these fantastic little GT4 cars will do battle around here for 1 hour, once again, as per the format of the championship. And we will see exactly how that shakes things up. Speaking of shaking things up, though, after last time, we applied drop scores to the championship. So this is how it looks after 6 rounds. Ed May currently leading the way from Simon Povey. He has an 18-point advantage, and then a big gap back to James Cummings in third on 92 points less than Ed. Really shows how it's spread out. Dan Bathy is fourth. It must be said, though, James and Dan doing a fantastic job under the radar. Neither of them have won a race this season, but they're still right in the hunt. And then 11/10ths Racing Team A and B, both showing exactly what flying formation is, with 3 of their drivers only separated by 4 points. Mark Baxter-Jones leading Johnny Elia, Oliver Carwardine, Byron Crawford in that formation. Dominic Brennan, after only doing about half of the season so far, is actually inside the top 10. He's having a really good run of it. Tom Slater rounds out your top 10. In the teams championship, though, it's H Motorsport that are leading the way. But again, after the drop scores are applied, it is getting very close. Only a couple of points, 17 in fact, between them and Tall and Motorsport. Then behind, it's really close between DBTRS, 11/10ths Racing Teams A and B, and then a bit more of a gap back to SimSport Racing International, Petrol Tuga, Team SRI, Shark Esports, Fragile, Crockery and Board, and Clockwork Orange Racing. But we're here at Spa, and it's one of the very finest racing circuits in the world, is it not? We've got some nice late afternoon, late evening conditions for you to enjoy, and we hope that you do so over these final couple of hours of sunlight. I don't quite know what that means, but still, great to have you all here with us. We're here on Facebook and on YouTube and on Twitch as well tonight. Decided to migrate things back over to the Twitch channel for the first time in a while, after it doesn't really get used, to be honest with you. We look here at Paul Goffin, one half of the Bossman's team, Team SRM. His teammate Andrew Marston is not out on track at the moment, but he has a brand new Cube Controls wheel that he'll be using from this meeting forward, and he says it's made a big difference in what he can feel with the car. Here's Simon Povey, currently second in the championship, only 18 points behind Ed May, and he's really up for the challenge. Looking forward to getting out there and getting amongst it. It is unfortunately an Aston Martin 1, 2, 3, 4 at the moment, so James Cummings and Dan Bathy, who happen to be the highest placed Porsche drivers in the championship, are also the highest placed Porsche drivers in the standings right now. Lewis Bibby in the Twitch chat, good to see you, mate. I hope you're well. Here is Ed May in the H Motorsport Aston Martin, and they have a new livery for this race meeting onwards by the look of it. Isn't that a tasty wagon? Although they haven't made the decal layer glossy, they've made it metallic, and that upsets me because it changes the colours. But still, it's pretty. It's also pretty is James Cummings' car. This is number 2 machine over the top of Radion and down the Kemmel Straight towards Les Combes and Malmedy. A very tricky section indeed. Jared Coleman is a driver that's changed car tonight, although he didn't let us know about this beforehand by the look of it. Jared Coleman in the number 64 machine is part of Clockwork Orange Racing, but has moved over to the Aston, so you will not see a decal layer on that car momentarily. I'll get that sorted in a minute. Whoever's livery that is, though, is absolutely gorgeous. It looks like some sort of Altus livery, doesn't it? Like an, well, funnily enough, an Altus livery. Here's Mark Johnson in the number 44 machine, the 4 Horsemen Racing colours. And yes, Hedge with a very good point. We have Formula 1 tomorrow, the British Boar Prix. Hoping to get a few more names on the grid. We have another driver that's come forward, but unfortunately some contact with other people hasn't led to them actually joining the series, which is a shame. So we're hoping to still get the numbers bolstered for Formula 1. I'm going to be working on that during the rest of this evening, and have been today and will be tomorrow, just to try and help things out. We look here at Stuart Clark, another driver that's been right amongst it this season. He's had a few nightmare rounds with a bit of contact here and there and the odd incident, but he's still been pushing away and continuing to put laps in wherever he can. Now, if you excuse me for a moment of silence, I will be trying to sort out Jared Coleman with a decal layer, so at least we can see him with the right decals on it. If I can just find his iRacing ID, which I can't seem to find. There we go. So who else to look out for tonight? Well, the 11/10ths Racing machines will be quite good around this circuit tonight, I reckon. These guys are always quick. Johnny Elliott, Byron Crawford, Mark Baxter-Jones, and Oliver Cowardine. Oliver, one of the only McLarens in the field. There's two of them tonight, Andrew Marston and Oliver himself. And out of the end of the pit lane they go. Is that a Manti Racing livery on that Aston Martin of Lewis Ward? No, it's not. It was for a second though, wasn't it? It was. Yeah, unfortunately, Ian, that isn't the Clockwork Orange livery, I'm afraid. Their car was sort of orange with skulls on it previously. I'm going to wait to see Jared's teammate out there if he is out on track. Yeah, Andrew Soper will be out momentarily, and I'll show you their usual livery. And Formula 1 is tomorrow night. Yes, Ed. Formula 1 is the British Boar Prix tomorrow evening. As Ed admits that he's got no practice. Brilliant. Well, I look forward to seeing how you get on. I look forward to seeing how Matus Niger gets on as well. The Slovenian driver has been really, really entertaining during his time in the championship. And he will be scoring points for SimSport Racing International for this season. Sorry, not Slovenian, Slovakian. Apologies, I've got the two flags mixed up. And just ahead of him on the road is the red Porsche of Dominic Brennan, the 212 driver. Has done an absolutely outstanding job this season. Looking back through his points, actually, he's finished on the podium at every race. He's finished third in every race he's done. That's why he has 70 points. He gets 35 for third position. So he's done that 3 times, so his worst score is technically 35. That's why he's dropped 35 and ended up on 70 in total. But the Porsche has looked consistent throughout the season. It's just that the Aston Martin, being the newer car, is typically faster. iRacing's usual format of we'll make the new car the fastest, so everyone's got to buy it. This is Dan Bathy, photographer extraordinaire, in the beautiful DB TRS racing machine. He has the yellow highlights on his livery, whereas his teammate Tom Slater has the red highlights on his, so i.e. the rear wing and the wing mirrors, if you have a look at them when he comes back around here. Bright red wing mirrors on that car, and then the sort of outline of the rear wing, and then Dan's basically the same car but yellow. So, who is on a lap? It looks like Lewis Ward is the first driver to get onto a timed lap in the Aston Martin. We'll go on board with Lewis, show you just how things look from inside the Aston Martin Vantage GT4. Down through Eau Rouge, over the top of Raidillon, using all of the curb. You can get away with quite a lot up there these days in terms of track limits. Just listen to how these cars feel like they run out of puff up the hill, because Kemmel Straight is uphill, quite steeply uphill as well. The sim doesn't really do it justice, to be fair, but it is one big climb up a hill, so the cars really need a lot of power to get down there. Aston's sounding amazing as ever though. Big rumbly noise about it, pops and bangs and all sorts. Through Speaker's Corner, which of course is different these days. There is a sort of shorter inside line to Speaker's Corner now, which is going to be used by the motorbikes instead, I believe. Either that or the motorbikes are going to use the outer layout. I can't remember which way around it is. But Lewis is looking good at the moment. He's done a purple sector too. Obviously, we're more likely to see purple sectors earlier on in the session. 20 minutes of qualifying, so it's not actually going to be that long for these drivers to get laps in here, because it is a long old lap round here in a GT4 car. It's at least 2 minutes 20 from what I remember. Hope you're all having a good week so far though. Tuesday comes around very quickly. For those of you that have been watching my Gran Turismo 2 series on my YouTube channel, I'm happy to tell you that I've recorded about 9 episodes of it today. I've really got into it throughout today. Been dotting sort of recordings in between a lot of other work as well. It's been a bit of a manic day, actually. Lewis Ward looks good on this lap, though. Is it going to count? Because he's been really close to the track limits on a number of occasions. And it does. A 2:28.277 puts him fastest. Who else can get near that? Johnny Elia, 8/10 off at the moment. Dominic Brennan's just crossed the line. Where does he go in all of this? He did a purple final sector, and he's 9/10 off with a 2:29.176. Fausto Pinto goes up there. So does Mark Baxter Jones. Good to see valid lap times going on the board straight away, because it's so easy for them to just put one wheel off here. The track limits are very inviting. John Roberts goes 4th. Paul Goffin goes 8th. Charlie Stout and Mark Johnson are next across the line. Andrew Marston, he'll be next up to go up the timing tower. He goes into 12th place. Now Ed May, where is championship leader Ed May in all of this? He's just in front, actually, of Tom Slater. Across the line he goes. And it doesn't look like a valid lap time from Ed May, so he's going to go for another one. In the H machine. A bit wide out of turn 1, but again, these guys know the track limits better than I. Simon Povey did purple sector 2 on his lap, but it doesn't look like it's counted. He's got his teammate Gary Tall with him on the circuit. They'll be giving each other a good bit of slipstream. Gary's hoping for a much better second half of the season compared to his first half, of course. Lewis Ward's done a purple sector 2 here and a purple sector 3, so the young Apex Racing Academy driver is really pushing hard. He's been a great addition to the championship. An extra yardstick for everybody. The championship is no longer taking on new applicants or anybody from the reserve list, as it's getting past the halfway point, or we are past the halfway point now. We don't really want to keep adding new blood into the series that may affect the championship standings. I mean, we've seen just how fast Lewis is, and some of the other additions that we brought in, like Dominic Brennan, Mattis Niger, they're very, very fast, and there's nothing wrong with that, you know. We love having them in the championship. It's great that the competition at the top is at that sort of level, but we don't want it to water down the competition of the drivers that have been here since the very start, if you catch my drift. Does Lewis improve? He does. A 2:28.163. He's nearly a second clear of everybody at the moment, so he's doing an amazing job. Johnny Elia crosses the line but does not improve. Dominic Brennan crosses the line also. No improvement from him. This is Stuart Clark. Mark Baxter Jones goes second fastest with a 2:28.8. Stuart Clark goes up into 8th position. Byron Crawford stays where he is. Oliver Carwadine goes for the line in the McLaren. If I click the right car, that would be good. He goes 7th. Paul Goffin does not improve. He does a 2:30.2. Just behind him, I think, was Rob Sharp. No, it was not Rob Sharp. Trying to remember which one of them that is there. I always get two of them mixed up. Stephen Kershaw, sorry. They're both in shiny metallic liveries. That's all I remember. I'm sorry, boys. Stephen Kershaw in the sort of metallic shiny martini livery. Where's Stephen Haley in all of this? He's just coming out of the final corner. He's done personal bests across all of these, but doesn't look like that fast a time. Maybe a 2:29.3. And he goes 7th fastest, 1.3 seconds off with that time. James Cummings goes 3rd, nearly 8.5 tenths off. At the moment, it's looking really good for Lewis Ward, although I say that, Mattis Niger goes very close, just less than 2 tenths off the pole time, and around here that's really, really close considering it's nearly 2.5 minutes a lap. He's got Danny Jones just in front of him, who's brought back the Haribo bear on his livery. You love to see it. Over the top of the hill he goes. Dan Bathy slots into 9th position. Ralph Mayer is going to be one of the next drivers to cross the line. Unfortunately, Heinz Mayer is not here tonight. As, oh no, Ralph's mucked it up as he goes through Blanchimont. He's got Fausto Pinto, who's just gone past him in the Petrol Tuga BMW. As, whoa, he kicks the back end out, trying to keep it on the right side of the track limits. Crosses the line. He does a personal best final sector as well. but no improvement for Fausto Pinto. We've still got a number of drivers who haven't put valid lap times in yet. Simon Povey, Philip Hopley. Good to have Philip back with us, by the way. Father of Andrew Hopley. He's getting used to the car and enjoying sim racing as Lewis Ward goes even faster, a 2:28.05. That's incredible. But the top two championship protagonists at the moment are yet to set a time. They're clearly pushing the limits. As Danny Jones. Really pushing the track limits there. Really pushing it. He goes through the Fania chicane down towards campus. Philip Hopley goes 18th fastest, just over 2 seconds off, which, to be honest, isn't so bad round here. Now here is the Clockwork Orange livery I was meaning to show you, Ian. This is what the Clockwork Orange cars should look like, at least. Andrew Soper in the number 72 machine, but I think Jared has changed to the Aston Martin, but just forgotten to notify us. He will get a 20-point drop for doing so. Not because he hasn't told us, but they get a 20-point drop for changing car. It's like a sort of penalty to sort of offset the potential advantage you might get by being in one of the quicker cars. Or get from gaining an advantage in some way anyway. As Simon Povey, there you go, 2:27.853, goes fastest in the Tall and Taller Motorsport machine. Gary Tall goes 8th. And now we wait and see where Ed May is in all this. John Roberts crosses the line. So too does Rob Sharp. Does he improve? He does, goes 15th fastest. Dan Bathy's next. He's right up there in the championship. Can he be right up there in qualifying for this race? Straight lines it slightly over to the right. Across the line he goes, but no improvement there for Dan Bathy. Ralph Mayer's on a good lap by the look of it. He's on his way to improve his time, surely, in the 990 Porsche. Through Blanchimont, keep it nice and tidy. Love it. Nice and clean with track limits. He's done personal bests in every sector so far. He was one of the drivers of the race for us. I think he actually got driver of the day at Daytona as well, because of the amount of positions that he gained during that race, despite an incident. Crosses the line, goes from 26th to 24th. Still a good improvement, but just shows you that they're not quite able to keep with the guys at the front. So it's Simon Povey, Lewis Ward, Mattis Niger, Mark Baxter-Jones, James Cummings, Dominic Brennan, Johnny Elia, Gary Tall, John Roberts up in 9th, and Dan Bathy in 10th at the moment. Sean Gardner in the chat, good to see you, mate. Hope you are well. And Mr. Hedge as well, always a pleasure. My good friend. Well done on the altitude job as well, by the way. I like that. Good friends with the altitude boys. I did a few shots for them a while ago, but it takes me about 3 to 5 working weeks to get any over to them. And to be honest, mine aren't anywhere near as good as yours anyway. But I know Mark. He loves a good screenshot. He loves a good screenshot. We should really keep our eyes on Mark Johnson here. He's just about to cross the line. And by the look of it, improve greatly. 19th place, all the way up to 10th. Fantastic improvement by Mark Johnson. Wow, you've got to love a bit of that. Great effort there by the number 44. We do come back, though, to Ed May. Simon Povey's about to cross the line. Is he going to do... Oh, that looked quick, actually. Has he improved? He does, 2:27.770. You can't get much quicker than that. Ed May does 2 purple sectors at the end of his lap, though, and he goes a 2:28.117. So he sits behind Lewis Ward and Simon Povey for the moment in a quartet of Aston Martins at the top of the pile. And he runs a little bit wide on the exit of turn 1. I'd argue there that he might have overstepped the mark. This is Charlie Stout in the Porsche. Currently finds himself in 18th place. Him and his dad both out on track tonight. Paul Stout in 27th position in the privateer Manthey Racing liveried car. Jared Coleman goes up to 26th position after putting his time on the board in the Aston. But Charlie's been a good addition to the series as well, you know. He's brought great banter, if I can say it properly. Great banter to the Discord. And a real positive vibe. It's good to have 2 generations of Stout on the grid. As I'm sure it's good to have 2 generations of Stout on the bar as well. Johnny Elia has moved inside the top 10. John Roberts and Mark Johnson now pushed down outside of that elusive first set of rows, the first 5 rows at least. Johnny's been looking for a much easier ride through the championship. He's still 6th in car number 6, but he's just not quite had an easy ride of it, like I say. He had a couple of incidents. He actually got COVID as well early on in the championship. Recovered well though, but it affected his driving, and he admitted that himself. And Hedge saying there may be another announcement tomorrow, so what he's doing is an announcement of an announcement, and I do absolutely love those, Hedge. I love building up a bit of suspense, as if I've got over 1 million Instagram followers or something, and that the whole world needs to know and be ready for it. It's what I live for, pretending I'm famous. Tom Slater's surprising me so far, and unfortunately for him, it's not for the right reasons. He's down in 21st position right now. I want to just point out how close it is between Gary Tall and Dan Bathy as well. 1,000th of a second between the two of them. Right in the middle of the field, it's stupid close. I mean, look at the times there. There's only 13 thousandths between Roberts and Johnson. Only 11 thousandths between... Actually, no, just over 1/10 of a second between Johnson and Sharp, as Ed May goes second fastest. Danny Jones moves up to 19th. Charlie Stout improves on his time but remains 18th. See how busy the track is in terms of where everybody's placed right now. There's a bunch of them all going through La Source and down the hill. Number 24 machine of Stephen Haley's very much on his own here, the yellow dot on the map. He's in the Aston Martin for SimSport Racing International. Another one that surprises me so far in terms of how far down the order he is, but I know how busy Stephen is. He's an incredibly busy bloke, so he doesn't often get all of the time to practice. We've only got a couple of minutes left here, so not long for these drivers to get laps in. Now, it's not a heat racing format, so they do get a chance to finish their laps that they're on before the session ticks over. We're not completely savage about it. Stephen Haley improves to 13th place with that time, a 2:29.31. Anyone else improving? Fausto Pinto just crosses the line. He is 24th fastest at the moment. Mark Baxter-Jones, it's great to have Mark back with us. He's missed a couple of rounds, actually. Can't remember the last time he raced with us, actually, to be honest with you. He missed rounds 3, 5 and 6. But in the races where he has taken part, he's been 1st, 3rd and 2nd. So you can bet that Mark is going to be right up there. He's great at playing the strategy game. He's won a lot of awards and medals and trophies here on any of our Sim Racing Magazine events. We actually started keeping a tally of all of the medals, trophies and podiums and stuff that drivers had in one of our Discord channels. And it was a really, really nice way of doing it. Using the emojis, you know, it's like a sort of virtual trophy cabinet for all of the drivers. It's like a Hall of Fame. I thought it was a really cool idea, and I got very carried away with it, but you know, it shows you everybody's achievements, where they won them as well, like what race they were in, what position they finished, and so on. Not for everybody, obviously, just for like medals and trophies, like top 3s and driver of the day and stuff like that. But it's a nice way of doing it. Alex Neller in the chat, and John Roberts as well. Hello, mate. Good to see you both, boys. You'll be excited, Alex, because it looks like we're in Heathrow Airport again, doesn't it, mate? And don't forget, we've got Formula 1 tomorrow as well, so you get the old school graphics back on your screen. The British Boar Prix. It should be another fantastic instalment. Is anybody going to win a race except Cam Dance? I suppose we don't know, do we? Cross line goes Simon Povey. No improvement there by the look of it. Gary Tall does improve. 7th fastest for him, 2:28.892. James Cummings is about to improve, though, by the look of it. He goes across the line after a couple of green sectors on that lap. No, does not improve overall. 2:29.2. His best is a 2:28.8 as well. Stephen Haley's improved in his 3rd sector on this lap, but I'm not sure that's going to be enough to offset the other sectors, which aren't as quick, and he's gone a little bit deep into the chicane. That livery looks so beefy on that Aston, though, doesn't it? Looks so good. He goes across the line. And yeah, it doesn't look like it counted, unfortunately. Lewis Ward, what can he do? He's not improved anywhere on this lap so far. He's only got a couple of seconds as well to get this done and potentially go on to a final lap of the session. He's going to just get onto it, but Stephen Kershaw is going to be next, and he is not going to make it onto a new lap, unfortunately. And Lewis Ward has given up on that lap, actually. So he will not improve from there. Steve Kershaw doesn't improve either. So we'll just keep our eyes peeled and watch them make their way across the line for the final time. Dominic Brennan into the chicane once again. He's been really, really good this season. 8th on the grid isn't quite what he'd want, but we'll see. He straight lines it, so he's clearly going to improve somewhere. Must have had a good first sector if that's an overall improvement, and it is. Moves him up to 6th place. Great effort by Dominic Brennan. He only improved in 2 sectors. Oliver Carwadine's done a purple sector 1 here on his way round. McLaren looking really fast, but is it enough on the exit of the chicane? It's a bit scrappy. He pushes on. We saw Paul Goffin go across the line a moment ago. Carwadine moves up to 13th, but a purple sector 1. He'll be really happy to know that he got that. Mark Johnson on his way into the pits. Ed May and Simon Povey are going to be the next 2 cars to cross the line. Here comes Simon. Looks like everybody from Boosted's jumped in the chat. Lars Van Ryn as well. Good to see you, mate. Simon really pushing that Aston about, isn't he? Out the final corner he goes. Personal best in that final sector. Not enough to improve overall. Very close, though, a 2:27.852. That's still quicker than anybody else's times. He's the only one to get into the 2:27 so far. Ed runs very wide out the final corner. I'd argue that was, yeah, a little bit too much, maybe. Yeah, unfortunately it was. Stephen Haley flooring it through Blanchimont into the bus stop chicane once more. What can he do about getting a good time on the board? Look at the rotation on the way in there. The Aston looks so good through that chicane. He's got 2 green sectors. Can he move up from 14th on the grid? No, he can't. A 2:29.454 for Stephen Haley is not enough, I'm afraid. Fausto Pinto decides to bring the BMW into the pit lane. It's worth practicing the pit lane entry here as well at Spa Francorchamps. It's ridiculously difficult. This just looks like a sort of cool down in lap from Dominic Brennan. Doesn't look like a fast lap at all. And he will be the final car out on track in the session. He will round it up. So Simon Povey will take a point for pole position. Those single points are not included in drop scores. Only the actual race result is what's counted. Doesn't that Porsche look fantastic? Very, very good looking little race cars, aren't they? I love the rear wing on them. So Brennan crosses the line. And in just a moment, the session will tick over. So Simon Povey, just to make sure I get the stats right, that is going to be Simon's 5th pole of the season. Yes, pole number 5 for Simon Povey. Only him and Ed May have taken any pole positions this season. He took them at rounds 1, 3, 5, 6 and 7. Ed took them at rounds 2 and 4. Shows you just how close and how competitive it's been between these lads at the very, very top. Right then, let's give you a grid, shall we, ahead of today's hour-long race here at Spa Francorchamps. Simon Povey and Edward May once again line up on the front row. Lewis Ward and Mattis Niger make it a very interesting row 2. Mark Baxter-Jones, good to have you back, mate. He starts up 5th alongside Dominic Brennan. James Cummings is 7th with Gary Tall alongside him. Then it's Dan Bathy and Johnny Elia rounding out your top 10. John Roberts is 11th ahead of Mark Johnson with Oliver Carwadine and Stephen Haley on row 7. Then we have Rob Sharp and Byron Crawford with Stuart Clark and Charlie Stout on row 9. Rounding out your top 20, we have Danny Jones and Paul Goffin. Tom Slater is in a rather out-of-order 21st place, with Stephen Kershaw alongside him on row 11. Philip Hopley and Fausto Pinto make up row 12, with Paul Stout and Ralph Mayer on row 13. Jared Coleman and Andrew Marston are 27th and 28th, with Andrew Soper lining up in 29th spot. It's a good chance as well for me to give a shout out to one of our new viewers. I've been told that a certain Fraser Cross has been watching the championship and really enjoying it. And apparently Spa is your favourite circuit, mate. So thank you very much for joining us on the broadcast. Hope you're enjoying the show. And I hope you continue to do so. You can hear the... Listen to that. Just sounds like the Aston Martins are purring, doesn't it? Absolutely purring away. I will have a look and see if that is John's best qualifying, but I think his best is about 6th or 7th. Yeah, he qualified 7th at Daytona, did John. So that has been his best qualifying by quite some distance, actually. So, the field gets moving then at about 10 frames per second, as the whole bunch of them make their way round on a shortened lap. And it's Aston Martin's 1, 2, 3 and 4, as you see. Everybody doing their best to catch up as quick as they can. And the safety car will peel in after not having to do much work. And then we'll get this race underway. The 7th round of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge is underway, and it's a fantastic start, it has to be said, by Mark Baxter-Jones. Lewis Ward is stuck in the middle between him and Mydas Simulation, and Edward May nearly got into the side of Simon Povey. Baxter-Jones looks down the inside, nearly makes contact with him. Is there any contact in the midfield? Is everyone behaving themselves? Looks like it. You can always trust these guys to have a clean start. Oh, well, I had to say it. Danny Jones and Charlie Stout there nearly recreating the 1998 Belgian Grand Prix start. Charlie Stout's car is clearly broken. I thought he was going to bounce off the wall Coulthard style, but Ed May has got the lead. Ed May has bounced up into the lead of the race, and look at these four behind. We've got a very, very close battle between these guys. And look, Dominic Brennan's trying to push through as well. Mark Baxter-Jones is in the middle. Simon Povey's got trouble. Surely, has he got a slowdown or something? Simon Povey has dropped way back. He's now down into 7th position. Side by side, Lewis Ward tries to go down the inside of Stephen Haley. He's made that work. Dominic Brennan's then side by side with Mark Baxter-Jones just behind them. Whoa, Baxter-Jones sliding the back end out there. Down towards Brissell. And now you can guarantee that Povey's going to be on a mission here. Car off. Lewis Ward. Lewis Ward's off in the wall. He comes back on. Whoa, contact there as well. Was that Johnny Elia getting into the back of Stephen Haley? Ed May has suddenly disappeared off the road, off up front. How did he get past Simon Povey? Oh, he's done it down the straight. And he's gone, you know what, stuff it, into a Rouge. Oh, scary, scary moment. Big commitment through there. Big commitment indeed. And yes, all of the frames, Alex, all of the frames. My terrible little RTX 2070 can't deal with it. Andrew Soper has had a problem. This was down to what's apparently now called double gauche. Whoa, oh gauche. Wow, that's a big old moment. Wow, wow, wow. Oh, he just backs it into the wall and takes the wing off it. I thought he'd just got away with that. Ed May, well, speaking of getting away with it, he's disappeared up the road, hasn't he? Mattis Niger's second, Mark Baxter-Jones is third, then it's Simon Povey, Dominic Brennan, James Cummings, Gary Toll, Dan Bathy, Mark Johnson and John Roberts still inside the top 10. He's got Stephen Haley for company. Everybody runs wide out of Blanchimont. Even my frame rate runs wide out of Blanchimont. Stuart Clark there in 12th place. He's gained 5 spots from where he started, actually. Nearly gains another one there at the expense of Stephen Haley. Lewis Ward needs to let Mark Baxter-Jones back on at some point. All of the frame rate. Tasty bit rate as well. Lewis Ward's going to try and get around the outside of Stuart Clark at La Source. And that is a lovely, lovely move. We've got Tom Slater off the road, going straight on at the hairpin. He's now 3 wide with Fausto Pinto. And Steve Kershaw slots in front of Steve in the Porsche. Gosh, there'll be a bit of poo on his seat now, says Alex Neller. I like that, mate. I'm a big fan of that. Yes, there's plenty of... Well, I don't even know how to describe them. There's plenty of childish jokes about poo on. This is Lewis Ward now having to fight to try and get past Stephen Haley. Stephen's gained 3 places from where he started. Lewis has dropped 9. But a lot of these drivers make the difference when it comes to the strategies in these hour-long races. The cars are limited to 40% fuel, so they do tend to make 2 pit stops. Well, they have to make 2 pit stops. Look at this side-by-side action. Fantastically close between the pair of them. Lewis Ward around the outside at Speaker's Corner. That's wonderful work. Great respect between the both of them there. Really enjoyed watching that. And they came out of the other end of it with clean cars. Andrew Marston and Ralph Mayer nearly fell into the void there while that rendered. Ralph goes down the inside into double gauche. Andrew Marston tries to get him back on the exit, but thinks better of it. Backs out for just a moment. He's got Philip Hopley behind him now in 25th. He's looking down the inside into the Fania chicane. Thank you very much, he says, but then he's suddenly on the outside for the next bit. Oliver Carwadine is behind the 2 of them. He's got a front row seat for all of this in his McLaren. It's a shame not to see more when the McLaren's on the grid, although if they didn't make that stupid clicking noise, then it'd be better. Makes a great sound though, doesn't it? Listen to that. Just listen for the little click on the upshift though. Just listen for it. Or not, Oliver. No upshift. Just listen for the downshifts then. It's a horrible noise. Horrible little noise. Right, Simon Povey has got past Mark Baxter-Jones. That's worth looking at. He's all over the back of him through Blanchimont. Uses the inside line. Look how much bigger the Aston looks there. I've mentioned it a few times this season, but it looks so much bigger. I've noticed as well that the 11/10 cars seem to have a bigger eyebrow or a bigger sort of amount of eye makeup on the left headlight than the right headlight, and I don't know quite why. Here's Gary Tall, stuck in the middle of it. He's not quite head and shoulders above the rest, is he? But James Cummings is the next car on his list to try and overtake. Dan Bathy just behind. Well, okay. That was Mark Johnson having a very audible accident. What happened there? He had Lewis Ward chasing him down, so I hope there's no sort of contact between the 2. Oh, there was. Oh, wow. Mark moved slightly over to the right-hand side, and the 2 of them just completely banged wheels, and it must have broken something on Mark's car because he's jumped straight back to the pits. That's devastating. They're the sort of tiny margins that we deal with, unfortunately, in this championship. It's very, very close, very competitive. Also very friendly as well, though, I have to say. All of the guys really get on in this championship, and there's fantastic camaraderie and sportsmanship between all of them. They're a really, really good bunch. So we're nearly 7 minutes into the race. Nearly 7 minutes through round 7. And the fastest lap of the race last time round went to Mattis Niger. He's caught up to the back of Ed May now. There's only 4 tenths between the 2. They've got about a second over Simon Povey. So far this season, we've only had 3 different drivers win a race. That is Mark Baxter-Jones, Ed May, and Simon Povey. Ed May's won 3, Simon Povey's won 2. Mark Baxter-Jones won the very first one after beating Simon in terms of pit strategy at Road Atlanta. This is on board with Gary Tall at 30 FPS. As the fastest lap of the race goes the way of Simon Povey. 2:27.696, 2:27.664 for Lewis Ward. He goes even quicker. He's only 2 cars back from us right now as we ride on board with Gary. Lovely glint there as the sun shines through. Oh, Jared Coleman's had a problem, although I think actually no, he's just pulled over out of the way to let the lap traffic go through. Fantastic sounds from these cars, isn't there? You've got the high-pitched squeal of the Porsche, you've got the low, beefy rumble of the Aston Martin, then you've got the sort of mid-tones of the McLaren and the BMW. Very close between the 2 Aston Martins there of Ed May and Mattis Niger. Oh, Philip Hopley's been off the road. Philip Hopley's had a major issue by the look of it. Let's not forget as well that the Mercedes AMG GT4 is coming to iRacing at some point in the near future. Ah, Ralph Mayer's had a game crash. What game was it? Paul Goffin's having to, well, he's having to play games right now with Danny Jones and Stephen Kershaw climbing around all over the back of him. Danny sticks his nose down the inside like a cheeky little jelly bear he is. And then he runs wide on the exit. Paul Goffin says, go on then, try it. Danny just comes back in front. Paul Stout's got a great view of all of this going on. I hope you can join again as well, Ralph. It'd be good to see a recovery drive. But I hope you can sort that out, buddy. Through double gauche. Looked a bit out of shape there, did Danny Jones. We saw him take that line in qualifying. Great view, though, from Paul Stout's car. Look at them all trying to take different lines, all weaving this way and that way. Looks like good fun, doesn't it? This is the sort of Porsche Cup part of the championship, it seems. Into Stavilo. Now, Paul's going to try and identify his opportunity here to get past Kershaw. He needs the slingshot from a little bit further back to try and get a run on him. As at the front, Mattis Niger has gone for the lead. He's down the inside of Ed May on the first part of the chicane. There's contact in the second bit, though. Don't think any of them particularly to blame for that. They just got very close together. Ed tried to get back on to make sure he could open up the apex. And Ed May retains his lead. You can see how much of a difference it makes to the decal layer, can't you, when you make it metallic. Cheers, Andy. Love you. As whoa, Simon looks down the inside of Mattis, and I don't think he expected Mattis to stay that far over to that side. Here's the man with the best seat in the house for it, though. Mark Baxter-Jones, he sits in 4th position. Now, the Porsche does not have the straight line speed of the Aston, but the slipstream up here will really help him out. You can hear them just getting off the throttle, making sure that they do not spin up the rears over the top, and here you go. Here's the slipstream in. Look at this. Mark's pulled out to the right already, though. He's going to run out of puff, maybe. No, he's just seeing who moves where. Sits behind Simon Povey. Brakes early. Simon goes in front of Mattis, and look at that. Mark Baxter-Jones around the outside, then the inside. Lovely move. Lovely move by the number 8, but now Mattis comes back at him. The Slovakian says, no chance, mate. Dominic Brennan now trying to come through as well. Mattis is going to have to be careful here, otherwise he's going to get completely swallowed up by all of them. Oh, it sounded like a problem there. Byron Crawford's just gone off the road. Could hear contact in the background for a second, couldn't you? And look at this now for the race lead. Ed May suddenly has Simon Povey crawling around all over the back of his Aston Martin. Simon is so fired up for this championship after the absolute nightmare that I caused him at Zandvoort. He has been really, really riled up to come back and go fighting after Ed with this one. The drop scores have really levelled the playing field, which is what we all wanted. I'm sure Ed might not agree, but still. It's great to see them battling for the championship still. It's not been blown completely in anybody's direction yet. As whoa, Mattis Niger just nearly clobbering the back of Mark Baxter-Jones' car. Now Dominic Brennan's going to try and have a go. Behind all this, you've got Lewis Ward bringing James Cummings, Gary Tall and Dan Bathy, the cavalry, to the party. If they can continue to close up, this could get very focusing. Brennan throws the car through Blanchimont, trying to stay with the Aston, but look how good Mattis Niger's Aston Martin looked through there. It looked really planted and really stable in the high-speed stuff, and that'll be helping them through Blanchimont, through Eau Rouge, through Radeon. The skinny little Porsches can't quite do it. I never thought I'd call a Porsche Cayman skinny, but in comparison to the Aston, look at it. It's like 10% less wide. Gary Tall feeling the need to defend from Dan Bathy, who's all over the back of him. Then you've got John Roberts and Stephen Haley together, the two Aston Martins. We'll go on board, actually, with Gary Tall, because it looked, sorry, Dan Bathy, it looked like he was all over Gary for a sec. Fantastic piece of circuit, isn't it? It's a shame they've had to change it, but well, it's just safety first, isn't it? Has to be that way, unfortunately. Two very, very pretty cars. And two very, very good drivers. Dan Bathy around the outside into Lecombe. Can Gary Toll get a cut back on him? He goes to the left. That's going to be the outside from Almady. But then he's going to open up the exit down towards Brissell. Moves over to the right. Still has a look, but Dan Bathy gets it done. Nice move by Dan. Simon Povey has overtaken Ed May for the lead. Mattis Niger has got past Mark Baxter-Jones. It all happened here down the Kemmel Straight. Nice and straightforward, but our two championship protagonists going head-to-head once again. I absolutely love it. Simon's actually opened up a little bit of a gap on Ed May here right now as well. Don't forget Simon was fastest in qualifying, so he's got a little bit more pace over some of the other guys behind him. But this battle has suddenly become a trio. Lewis Ward was third fastest in quali, but made that mistake in the opening laps. We didn't see if he actually had any contact in that moment, but I think he just went a little bit too hot into Brissell. And now, well, he's very close to the back of Dominic Brennan. Let's see what the slipstream's like here. We'll stay on board with Lewis and just try and get an idea as to how good the Aston Martin is through Blanchimont if we get a direct comparison. That's if we don't morph into Dominic Brennan's car. Down the inside goes Lewis. Great commitment. Dominic had to back out of it. Lewis showed him where the corner exit was. Stephen Haley's got past John Roberts, so he moves himself into the top 10. But at the end of the sixth lap, start of the 7th lap, quarter of the way through the race, Simon Povey leads. Ed May second, Mattis Niger in third. It's still Aston Martin's dominating the podium. Mark Baxter-Jones is the highest placed Porsche. Fausto Pinto and Danny Jones have just swapped places. Fausto makes a sort of unwanted rejoin, I'd say, by poor Paul Stout and Paul Goffin there, having to wait for a second. Into the pits, though, has come Stephen Kershaw. Now, I can't see any damage on the car. Maybe he's taking a very early stop to get out of traffic. We've seen a couple of drivers do it before. Mark Baxter-Jones has resorted to macros and is now flashing his lights furiously. Then again, it might not be furious. It might just be him enjoying himself and saying, "Good racing, chap," to Mattis Niger. Top two have broken away from this very much right now. Got a little trio of Porsches here in the middle. Stuart Clark, Rob Sharp and Byron Crawford. Clark, Sharp and Crawford. Now, if that is not a firm of solicitors. Mattis Niger, he's been fantastic to watch all season, and he's stuck in the battles once again here at Spa. Made his debut earlier in the championship. I believe it's Silverstone, actually. I'll have a quick check and just see if it was before that. No, it was Silverstone. He made his debut. And Dominic Brennan, both of them right up there in the top 5 throughout the whole thing. Mark Baxter-Jones says, "After you," to Lewis Ward. He knows how quick Lewis is, and he just says, "I'm going to play the long game here." You can bet that Mark's going to try and maybe save a bit of fuel in a long run here. He's very good with strategy in these races. The Porsche just hiding behind the little rear wing of the Aston Martin for now, isn't it? I really think that GT4 racing has become a fantastic category, though. I always say that it's a shame that... Whoa, hello. Rob Sharp very out of shape out of Stavelot. I always say that GT4, it can be a bit of a shame that it sort of lives in the shadow of GT3 as like a sort of secondary class a lot of the time, but I've been lucky enough to see the FFSA French GT4 Championship in person at Nogaro, and what a series. You know, GT4 racing on iRacing is good enough, but it's incredible in real life as, oh, there's been some sort of altercation here between Philip Hopley and Johnny Elia. Johnny's lost it on his own. Car's gone one way then the other, and oh, that's really knocked the front left out of shape there. Philip Hopley just not reacting in time, unfortunately, and Johnny Elia now sits in the pits. Aston on Aston. Mattis Niger side by side with Lewis Ward. Lewis has done a fantastic job of making his way back through this pack, hasn't he? He's now back to where he started. In fact, the whole top 7 drivers are all in the exact positions they started the race. Simon Povey, Ed May, Lewis Ward, Mattis Niger, Mark Baxter-Jones, Dominic Brennan, James Cummings. Dan Bathy's only moved up 1 place and Gary Toll's only moved down 1 place. So in the whole top 10, there's only been 1 position swap. It's Battle of the Poles further down. Goffin versus Stout. Stout in the very brightly coloured Manti Racing livery, with Paul Goffin in the Team SRM car. Goffin's had quite a solid season as well, you know. Currently finds himself 15th in the standings on 41 points. But he's got 41 of the 47 points that the team has scored so far. Not to rub it in, boss. Lewis Ward, though, back in a podium position. And you can bet now that with his incredible pace, he's going to go chasing our 2 race leaders. Ed May in 2nd place, and of course this man, Simon Povey, back out in front. His driving looks as purposeful as the Aston does, doesn't it? He just looks quick wherever he may go. Let me know in the chat if you've got any predictions for the race. I can see the chat from YouTube, Facebook and Twitch all in one go here on Restream, so let me know what you reckon. I'd be interested to see what your future predictions are for this, as Lewis Ward now comes under attack again from Mattis Niger. Mattis tries to go down the inside, nearly makes contact. Lewis confident to cut the nose off at Aston Martin. Great racing throughout, though. Lovely quartet here. James Cummings just behind him again, under the radar, but he's 3rd in the championship at the moment, is James. And Dan is 4th, just behind him. These two have been fantastic. They're the highest placed 2 drivers that haven't won a race this season. James has just been the master of consistency. He finished 7th at Road Atlanta. Then he was 5th at Sebring. 4th at Daytona. 8th again at Silverstone. 8th at Zandvoort, and then 9th at Zolder. Zolder actually his worst result of the season, but still inside the top 10. He's finished every race so far. Oliver Carwadine's into the pits. So too is Tom Slater. So I'm wondering whether these two taking an early stop, like I said before, to try and get out of traffic. We've had Steve Kershaw in the pits. He's one of the only drivers to have pitted so far. Tom Slater moving back out on track. And is Kershaw going to get ahead? Because he's on the outside turn 1. There's Tom Slater. So Kershaw not quite in front. Nice slide there by Philip Hopley. Lovely. But now we have pit stops cycling through. It's going to be interesting. Very interesting to see how they work out, because traffic can be a nightmare around here, but at the same time, it can be a blessing because it gives you the slipstream. Only problem with slipstream is, if you're trying to save fuel and stay in somebody's slipstream, you'll have to back out and slow down at some point, which if you were on your own, lapping completely solo, you wouldn't have to. So there can be an interesting dynamic to that. Byron Crawford very much stuck in the middle, with Stuart Clark and Rob Sharp either side at the moment. Three very, very good looking cars though. The privateer entry of Stuart Clark with Rusty's Roasts and the beautiful red flames all over it. Byron Crawford's 11/10 Racing B machine with the Blinds to Go branding on it. And then Rob Sharp in the, well, let's just say one of the classics. The Orburis branding down the side of it as well. Looks really, really good. Gary Tall into the pits. So Gary decides to head for the pit lane. A potential early stop for him as well. Gets him completely out of traffic. John Roberts also doing the same. I was going to make a point about pit stops not long ago, but I can't remember what it was. Complete, like, full disclosure, I have no idea what I was going to say about them. I was going to mention the pit stops and how much of a difference it can make. Look at the slipstream there from Lewis Ward to Mattis Niger. Very, very strong indeed, but still They all remain behind one another. It does make you think that they can clearly tell that the guys are moving further and further away ahead of them, so they want to try and catch back up. Maybe work as a team, but it's hard to do that. I remember what I was going to mention now, and it's not actually to do with pit stops. I was just being an idiot. But on SDK, which is the software I use for the live timing, we get a slight insight into incident points, but it's not always completely consistent with what the sim actually gives out in terms of track limits. And pretty much everybody in the top 10 and 12 is nearing, or at least over, even nearing 30 incident points on that at the moment. A lot of them near and over 20, but a couple of them, Ed May, Lewis Ward and Dan Bathy, closer to 30 than they are to 20. Now you get 20 incidents in these races before you get a warning, i.e. a drive-through penalty, and then on your 30th incident point you are completely disqualified from the race on the spot, and you will disappear there and then. So clearly that's not consistent so far, because none of them have served a drive-through. These guys are obviously right on the limit with track limits and not taking the mick too much. We've had a bunch of cars have pit stops. We'll show you just who on the left-hand side. As you see, Gary Tall is currently the highest placed of them. But everybody now coming in. So sticking to what I was going to mention before, actually, about the fact that around here you don't get much variation in terms of pit stop strategy. Because of how long a lap is and how much fuel you use per lap, you don't see a lot of people staying out for much longer than others. So Gary Tall will be the guinea pig, essentially, right at the front of the pack that we will compare to everybody else. I'll show you there two sort of dots at the moment. The number one, the faint grey number one, is Simon Povey. And he's already got going. Simon Povey is already out of the pit lane. Ed May is a long way behind him. He was in the pits for 6 seconds longer, but we've seen just how good Simon is in the pits. He's very quick and has sort of tightly calculated fuel runs, so he might stop a bit earlier than the rest of them near the end of the race and take a full tank, basically. He'll get to the point where he knows a full tank will make it to the end of the race, and he'll pit out of traffic and go from there. So pretty much everybody having their stop now. This is how the gaps look. Although Mark Baxter-Jones hasn't got much of a gap. Him and Mattis Niger are side by side. They've both jumped Lewis Ward in the pits as well. Look at Mark round there. Really tries to drag that Porsche in on the first apex. Doesn't quite work for him. He needs to be careful that Lewis Ward doesn't jump at the opportunity. James Cummings and Dan Bathy are there as well. As Stephen Kershaw's had a problem. Stephen Kershaw's had a big problem. He's gone off at a Rouge and straight to the pits. What on earth was that about? I didn't quite look the way that turns. It's that's something weird. That had he just come out of the pits? Let's have a look. We'll go on board with Stephen and see what happened here, because the car was behaving in a very strange way. The steering was pointing straight and the rears just completely went around. So he loses the back end a little bit. It looked like he was on his own, actually, didn't it, going down to Eau Rouge and Radion? From that camera angle we had, anyway. Look, so he's clipped the wall. He's broken something. He's completely broken the right rear. Look, that's why it's going to have gone around. Look, yeah. It didn't look that broken at first, but wow, that's a big old hit, that. That'll scare the life out of you, that. So Stephen Kershaw will go back to the pits, and once that tow is completed, i.e. being towed back to the pits, he will then be able to get a fast repair and come straight back out. But yeah, that'll wake you up, that one. Lewis Ward there down the inside of Mark Baxter-Jones. Very tidy move. Look at this behind, though. James Cummings and Dan Bathy are starting to close in on this. Mark Johnson has had a problem, and he's just jumped back to the pits. He's left the pit lane after 8 seconds. This is after he got his damage from earlier repaired. Although maybe... Not quite sure what's happened there. I'd love to be able to tell you, but I don't know, sorry. Over the crest of the hill once again. I'll show you just how close the field is. Simon Povey, well, he's not close, he's gone. 7 seconds back to Ed May. Ignore the timing tower on the left because it's not updated yet based on their current positions. Simon Povey, 7.2 seconds clear of Ed May. Then Mattis Niger's another 4 seconds back, but he's got a massive train of cars behind him. As you can see, that number 3 there on the map, very much with a lot of attention behind. Still, it's a good-looking train to have chasing you, though, isn't it? Lewis Ward, Mark Baxter-Jones, Dominic Brennan, James Cummings, Dan Bathy. And then you've got Gary Toll another 4 seconds back. But this is a hell of a battle to have on your plate. We've still got Battle of the Pauls going on as well. With Paul Stout here chasing down Paul Goffin. Hard onto the brakes into Bruxelles. There's a lot of different lines you can take through there. You can take what I call the Luffield line, where you sort of attack the corner and go in, let it run wide, and then get the run back on the exit. Or you can hug the inside line and just take the shortest route, but sometimes it's not as easy to pull that off. Depends on the tyres and how sort of worn down they are. We've had a bit of shimmying further up as Lewis Ward has closed right in on Mattis Niger now. Very close to contact as they go through Blanchemont. Mattis runs a little bit wide. He's going to defend the inside line. Now you can bet. Technically doesn't come across on Lewis there. He just goes to the racing line, but these guys are all starting to pile in behind him. And look, Mark Baxter-Jones gets a run as they all check each other up. Mark flashing his lights, filling the mirrors, saying, come on, out the way. Somebody's come into the pits. That's Charlie Stout, who's made his way in. Charlie is quite a while down on these guys, actually. He's a lap down. So I think he might be coming in to retire the car, unfortunately. We've had another problem for Philip Hopley as well, I'm afraid. Oh. Not quite sure what the situation is there. Oh, right, okay. He's had some sort of connection issue. It'll come back to it. There. No, clearly not. Ed May also went off the road. This was just about a lap ago. Oh, he's just going to run deep, isn't he? Yeah, that counts as being off track, apparently. Mattis Niger has been overtaken by Lewis Ward and is now under pressure from Mark Baxter-Jones. We'll have a quick look back at how he did this. As expected, down the Kemmel Straight into Les Combes. Mattis has to concede. Lewis gets the apex of the second part nicely. That means, once again, the top 7 are all in their starting positions. Dan Bathy and Gary Toll have moved around. Stephen Haley, that was a weird camera change. Stephen Haley has actually gained 4 places in this race. Tom Slater has now jumped to the pit lane. Not a clue why. It doesn't even show him here at the moment, does it? Oh, okay. Right. Whatever that was. So apparently that was Tom jumping to the pits. Anyway, we're over halfway through this race now at Spa. We've got Porsches in groups, actually. Look at the timing tower. You've got 4 Aston Martins, 4 Porsches, 3 Aston Martins, 3 Porsches. BMW and McLaren teaming up together, 3 Porsches. McLaren, 3 Porsches. I love it. Let's have a look at how that BMW is getting on. This is Fausto Pinto. He's got just over a second, or just under a second back to Oliver Carwadine in the McLaren. And then we have the boss man, Andrew Marston, in the other McLaren, 20th position so far. He's got a quartet of Porsches behind him, actually. Philip Hopley, Ralph Mayer, Stephen Kershaw, and Charlie Stout. Jared Coleman is out of the race, I think. No, Jared is running, actually. He's still out there in the Aston Martin. Tom Slater also running. We've lost Mark Johnson, Johnny Elia and Andrew Soper. Those are our 3 retirements so far. Steve Kershaw has jumped back on the horse as well after his big hit into the wall down here. This is the intriguing part of the race now between the 2 pit stops, where the drivers try and slot themselves back into a useful position before they then make another stop. As in front, Mattis Nygaard goes down the inside of Lewis Ward. They're very close to contact once again. But importantly, there is no contact. Lewis moving around just to show him exactly where he wants to try and defend, and to prove the point that he is defending. Looks like Mattis is ready to launch an attack whenever, really, but Lewis has just got some superior pace in some of these corners. He's just got enough to stay in front. Where it matters, it's just that slipstream down the Kemmel Straight that's gluing the pair of them together. Well, no news is good news for Simon Povey. He has continued to extend his race lead. 7.8 seconds now back to Ed May. And there's not really much else that can be said other than that Simon is doing a fantastic job. He had a challenging opening couple of laps, as we saw, where he dropped a few places. And then he made them back up very, very quickly. And since then, has continued to charge forward and start to run away. The pit stop certainly helped as well, really opened that gap up. It took Ed out of slipstreaming range. And since then, Ed's just had to try and match him on pace, but he's 0.3 of a second slower on that lap. But he's still quicker than the guys behind him. Personal best, though, by Mark Baxter-Jones, actually. He does a 2:28.1. Only just slower than Simon Povey on that lap. I've realised why my graphics card was absolutely dying, and that's because my webcam was on as well. My webcam's directly plugged into the graphics card, I think. No, it's not, sorry. But still, obviously my graphics card was working hard to render that while we're also rendering this, so hopefully that helps the frame rate a tiny bit. Now there's 2 Aston Martins there, believe me. John Roberts in the camouflaged, Ukrainian camouflaged machine, still behind Stephen Haley in his JL Racethetics, or JL Designs helmet based on the old Apple Mac branding, I believe it is. Look at the line that John uses there just to make sure he gets a good run on Stephen Haley. Whoa, kisses the curb, gets slightly out of shape on the brakes. This Aston Martin really does move around a lot, doesn't it? Sounds phenomenal as well. Doesn't sound like such a beefy roaring V8 in here.
Sounds a little bit more high pitched, but then when you go on the suspension camera,
you can hear it. It's that very bassy growl, isn't it? Great car, really great car though. There's no surprise that it's done so well in this championship. But I'm intrigued to see how it is when it gets nerfed, when it inevitably gets slightly nerfed by iRacing. We'll have to wait and see though, won't we? This car joined the championship after round 2, because at Sebring we still had the McLarens at the front. And then all the drivers that basically wanted to drive the McLaren then changed to the Aston Martin, except for Oliver Carwadine and Andrew Marston. Here's Marston's teammate Paul Goffin in the Porsche, chasing down Danny Jones, the number 55 machine. Danny's gained 2 places from where he started. I'll show you the gains actually from everybody, because the driver that's gained the most places is this man, Fausto Pinto, in 15th place in the BMW, gaining 9 spots from the start. Andrew Marston himself has gained 7. Paul Stout has gained 6. So a great drive by a bunch of the guys a bit further down the order, just surviving some of the shenanigans and continuing to move forward. Oliver Carwadine looking very racy though, isn't he, in that McLaren? It always looks quick, this McLaren. Ollie always looks fast anyway. He's part of the second 11/10 racing teams in this. He may not run the same livery or the same car as the other guys, but he doesn't have to. He just tries to continue pushing on after the BMW as we get close now to 2/3 race distance. Zoning in on 40 minutes of completion. And you can see that the lighting now is very, very golden, isn't it? Very beautiful. As this race will once again just about go under lights by the time it's finished. We get these settings by choosing late afternoon and checking what time that would put it to, and then taking an hour off it when we go for a specific time in the iRacing UI. So for example, if you choose late afternoon and it says that it would be 7:30 in sim when it loads, you then set it to exact time and then put it to 6:30. So it doesn't go completely pitch black by the time the race is done, but you still get that beautiful transition from day to night. You get to enjoy every second of it. Byron Crawford's going to enjoy every second of going down the inside of Stuart Clark. That's if he can make it stick. Stuart's carried a lot of speed around the outside in the Privateer 996 Porsche. Rusty's Roast branding. He brakes a little bit later, puts his nose back down the inside. All the while, behind them, Rob Sharp gets an eye full of not just sunlight, but two fantastic Porsches going for it as well. I hope you're enjoying the stream so far though, everybody. It's certainly always good fun to bring this action to you. Please do consider liking the video wherever you may be watching this, whether it's Facebook, YouTube or Twitch, and of course giving me a follow or a like or a subscribe, whatever. Lewis Ward is going to subscribe himself to the pit lane right now, and he's going to get out of that traffic, and he's decided that that is the better option instead of sticking in the slipstream of those around him. Back to this fight though, and Stuart Clark has not given up on Byron Crawford. Car 12 is now P12, and now, well, car 12's in the pits. Byron decides to come in. Again, getting away from a battle and anything that might hold him up. Ed May is now 9 seconds, give or take, behind Simon Povey, but with an 18-point difference in the championship, well, which will be now 17 after qualifying. Ed will be pretty happy to only lose 10 points of that, but that's how much of a difference it makes from first to second. 50 points for a race win, 40 for second. So the championship gap will come down to just 7 points if it finishes this way. Neither of them will drop this score because it will not be their worst. Simon Povey actually has dropped 0 from his score. Ed May from his has dropped 30. So he certainly has a poor result in his back pocket, at least, does Ed, that he can drop. So it'll be intriguing to see how he uses that over the rest of the season. The final round of the championship will not be counted for drop scores though, so people cannot alter things at the very end. John Roberts there just changing down partway around just to make sure that he can get the car back up the revs, back up the power band to continue this chase of Stephen Haley. Sometimes cars like this are quite sensitive to engine braking in the way that they handle. You do sometimes need to knock it down a gear mid-corner just to get it to rotate that little bit more. It seems to have more of a benefit than just keeping it in a higher gear and trying to carry more speed through. Stephen Haley is absorbing this pressure at the moment. But you can see that they're both taking very different lines through a lot of the corners. Stephen's taking a more aggressive line on the way in, really clipping the apex and having the car run wide on the exit, whereas John has been taking a later apex and then focusing on the run on the way out as well in his own way. Simon Povey comes into the pits. Race leader is on pit road, and that is not surprising. We saw he had a shorter pit stop than Ed last time by about 8 seconds. A full service for most of them so far has been about 24 seconds. And Simon has another 10 seconds or so of that left to go. So I'll update you when he comes out of the pits of how long his stop was. 19.3 seconds, actually. So even that was a shorter stop than everyone else is having. That's clearly all it needs to get him to the end. He's got about, well, 16 and a half minutes left. The shadows went all weird then on the exit of turn 1. Thank you, iRacing. Rob Sharp is the next car into the pits, but that means Ed May, for the time being, leads this race. And he'll be very happy to be doing so, because this championship is very much wide open again, thanks to the drop scores. Mattis Niger has still got Mark Baxter-Jones chasing him down, but of course these guys are missing Lewis Ward right now. Lewis, who is behind Simon Povey by about 8 seconds right now. I'll show you just about the difference between the two of them on track. Lewis is the yellow 11, Simon the grey number 10. That's their positions, and then of course you can change it to their car numbers as shown. Stephen Haley still has John Roberts behind him. He's going to be fed up of seeing, well, nothing in his rearview mirror actually. It's just pure camouflage, isn't it? Boosted machine. It's a great way of showing your support for Ukraine as well, actually, isn't it? It's a classy way of doing it. I certainly like it. But then again, that's the sort of camouflage you see on a Ukrainian Air Force Su-27 P1M flanker. My very favourite aircraft. See who's going to be next into the pits. Is there going to be anybody in on this lap? 15 minutes left to go. You'd argue that Ed May is going to try and pit as late as possible, take as little fuel on as possible. These guys all carry on by the look of it. What about Dan Bathy? James Cummings? Nope, they don't either. Gary Tall, is he going to be next in? He is. Gary is the next driver in. So he and his teammate Simon Povey clearly on similar-ish strategies. Sounds like someone else is coming in, maybe. No? Thought maybe Stephen Haley or John Roberts, either of them trying to get out of this fight. They've got Simon Povey behind them as well. They potentially could hold Simon up here if they do start to battle a little bit more intensely. At the moment, it's just sort of John is sticking with Stephen, isn't he? He's not trying to have a go at this point. Oh, look at them shadows there. Look at that. Oh, yeah. Get in me. Sorry. Mark Baxter-Jones flashing his lights once again, saying, keep the profanities away, please, Chaz. This remains to be a professional broadcast, remember? He's saying, shut up. Little dab of the brakes there by Mark Baxter-Jones through Lecom, just to try and stabilise the car slightly, get it a bit more rotate. Dominic Brennan, no, wrong car. Dominic Brennan has a good view of all this, once again. He's going to be hoping that somebody somewhere in this top 5 trips up and he can get his 4th podium in a row, maybe even his 4th third position in a row. He could have a shorter stop than these guys if he comes in at the same time, takes enough fuel to the end. Because he's been sat behind them in the slipstream for a number of laps, he could actually benefit from that. Just trying to see whereabouts he's got any sort of advantage over these two, if they are holding each other up at all, and it doesn't look like they're that slow anyway. I mean, Mattis is clearly pushing very hard. You can see he's always running a little bit wider than Mark Baxter-Jones. Mark seems to be under a little bit more control with just taking it easy, essentially. I know it's not taking it easy as such. He'll still be driving the wheels off this Porsche, but, you know, he's not trying every single corner to make a move on Mattis. He's not sort of copying his lines or trying to brake where he brakes. He's just running his own lines, running his own braking zones, and he's not too worried about what the car in front is doing at this stage. It's very clever, wise driving from Mark Baxter-Jones, and it's what we always see from him. And that's clever and wise as well. He dives into the pits, he thinks, right, I am definitely getting held up now, so I'm going to chuck it in, take some fuel on board and see what we can do. Dan Bathy also comes into the pits in the DB-TRS racing machine. Where is Simon Povey? He's caught up with John Roberts and Stephen Haley, but just in time as those two duck into the pits. Ed May continues to lead past all the jagged shadows. Love that sound. sounds of curbs being rattled by cars. It's a great noise. Not many things beat it. But there is Ed's lead over Mydas Simulation and Dominic Brennan. 3.7 seconds at the moment. Where is Lewis Ward in comparison to the other guys? Well, Baxter Jones is way up the road here. He was in the pits for about 4 seconds less than Lewis Ward, so he's gained a bunch of time. Lewis is not in slipstreaming range anymore either, so that certainly hasn't worked out for him. He was in the pits for 15.4 seconds. Mark Baxter Jones was in there for 11, and if that could get him to the end, then surely Ed May's pit stop, if it is short enough, could outdo Simon Povey's lead, because Simon was in the pits for 19 seconds last time round. He had to take a bit more fuel because he was pitting a lot earlier. I'm excited to see where this battle leaves the two of them and whether we do get a final dash to the end between our two championship protagonists. Dominic Brennan as well could be a spoiler in the pack here. He and Mydas Simulation have left this very, very late. We've got a bunch of drivers yet to pit though, look. 4 of them at the very top. Stuart Clark yet to pit again. Paul Goffin isn't pitted yet. Philip Hopley as well. This could all still change, you know. We'll have to wait and see. Keep our eyes on Ed May. I imagine he's got to surely pit this time round. Just hit 50 minutes of this race. I don't think the car's going to do 2 sets of 27 minutes as he's got a bit hot. A little bit hot into the bus stop. Locks up on the way into the pits as well. Those vital tenths could cost you dear. Let's see what it's like. Where is Simon Povey? Where is Simon Povey? Here he is. Wow. Right, we'll see how long Ed's in the pits. Don't forget, Simon Povey, 19.3 seconds. Pit lane in and pit lane out was 47.1. Ed's now stopped. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Surely it's about 9 or 10 seconds. 11, 12, 13. Wow, Ed's really, really not going to outdo Simon here. 11.7 seconds. It's much shorter, but it's not short enough. There's Dominic Brennan now. There's Mydas Simulation as well. Mark Baxter Jones comes out side by side, and both of the Porsches have jumped the Aston Martins, and those two are side by side once again as well. These guys were having a fantastic scrap earlier, and Lewis Ward just has the run on Mydas Simulation to get out in front of him. James Cummings is just behind this, a few seconds back. There's Dan Bathy, Gary Toll, and Stephen Haley. John Roberts has been in the pits. He's been coming in the pits for a while, actually. He was battling Stephen Haley before. Has he had a drive-through? Or a stop-go? Has he been done for speeding? I'm not sure, but John Roberts has had to come in again. That's a real shame. That's his 3rd stop of the race. Not quite sure what's happened there. Headlights have not come on yet on these cars, but I imagine in a few minutes they might. But it's Simon Povey leading this race still after all of the pit stops are completed. He's got 4 seconds over Ed May, so Ed did make time on him, just not enough. As mentioned, Ed May 2nd. Mark Baxter Jones going for another podium on his return to the championship. That would mean a 100% podium record for him. The guy behind him also wants to maintain a 100% podium record as well, actually. Dominic Brennan. He's finished 3rd in every race he's done in this championship. And he wants to add another one to that list. Not many laps to go here at Spa Francorchamps. We are just under 8 minutes from the end of the race. That's only about 3-4 more laps. I'd say 4 actually. We might just get the 4th anyway. This is car 12, P12, Byron Crawford. I need to keep my eye on Dominic Brennan though. Looks very scary to have Lewis Ward closing in on him, really. Lewis, after dropping a few places during the pit stops, will be making hay very quickly to move forward and try and outdo these guys in front of him. He's not got long left to do it now, so he needs to take his chances when he can. Didn't seem to gain a lot of time through that final chicane, though. It's easy to over-push these things, you see. These cars can have very lazy slides and horrible oversteer where it sort of gives you a bit of a four-wheel drift if you do push them a little bit too hard. Further down the order, we've got Oliver Carwadine with Paul Stout right behind. These two battling away in cars 80 and 37, McLaren versus Porsche. Paul Stout's gained 7 places from where he started this race. He's tied with Andrew... Actually, no, I was going to say he's tied with Andrew Marston for the biggest mover in the field, but Fausto Pinto still holds that.
He's gained 8 spots in his BMW.
As Dominic Brennan and Mark Baxter-Jones are fighting amongst themselves now, so this is suddenly going to throw Lewis Ward into the mix. I'm just holding my breath. I'm sorry, I'm holding my breath completely here just to see how this all pans out, because Baxter Jones has got a lot to think about right now. Dominic Brennan right in front of him, and then right behind him, the man that qualified 3rd in this race, Lewis Ward in the Aston Martin, closing down on him. It's very clear to us that the Aston is the car to be in, but these guys have made the Porsche work so well. Dominic Brennan has been a real strong addition to the championship as well. Mark Baxter-Jones just kisses the back of the 718. Gets away with it. And to be fair, you have to say Dominic got away with that. Usually on iRacing, you can breathe on the car next to you and it will be around. But that time round, it was Mark Baxter-Jones that sort of paid the price for it, the car stepping out. Now that car behind us, Lewis Ward, just set the fastest lap of the race on that previous lap, a 2:27.65. He was 0.3 of a second faster than Simon Povey. And surely the pressure is building and building now for these guys, knowing that Lewis could take that podium away from them at any point in these final few laps. Mattis Niger's just sort of holding on to this at the moment with his beautiful gold wheels. Just praying that something falls his way. Headlights are on. So we're getting to that point in the race now where it's getting dark enough. You will see the difference in the lighting in these latter stages. Someone else that can just coast and appreciate that, though, is Simon Povey. There is the gap back to Ed May. 4.8 seconds, 4.9 seconds now. And it's Dominic Brennan, Mark Baxter-Jones and Lewis Ward behind. Mark Baxter-Jones moves out to the left-hand side of Dominic Brennan, who comes all the way back over. The door is not open there for Mark as well. Definitely not open. He kisses the back of the red machine once again. Lewis Ward tries to go through around the outside of Malmedy. And he does get it done. Then he puts the car slightly in the middle of the road. Really well defended. The Apex Racing Academy car going well. Now into Speaker's Corner. He's going to try and line up a move maybe on Dominic Brennan. Now he's got one of them. He can't focus on what's going on behind him. He needs to continue to look forward and chase that podium. He had a DNF at Zolder after a fantastic drive, showing incredible pace. He had a hardware failure which just threw the car into the barrier and out of the race. And now he's climbing around all over Dominic's car into the Fania chicane. There's a bit of contact on the way in. It's very close. And close again. Oh, big contact indeed. Oh, I don't think there was enough room left by either of them there. And it's broken the left rear on Dominic's car with only a few laps to go. Oh, that's absolutely gutting. Dominic didn't leave much room earlier on in the lap, it has to be said. And then I think he went and did it again. Oh, these are the guys. This is just after the guys have gone off, sorry. He came over, had the first touch, and then Lewis there didn't leave the room for me on the right. There was only just enough room for the tiny Porsche down the inside. Have a look at it from Mark Baxter-Jones' point of view. Yeah, there was barely a Porsche's width on the right. Great avoidance by the guys behind as well to not get caught up in that. But unfortunately, the boys were the masters of their own fate there. There was a moment earlier where Dominic didn't quite leave the room on the left on the brakes. And then I think they both tried to get as close as they could with one another. And it all went to pot. Simon Povey, though, is on his last lap of the race. The eagle-eyed of you would have seen Barney dusting the flag off against the wall as he does on the opposite side of the circuit for some reason here at Spa. Doesn't stand in the marshal's post above the line. He just does what he wants, doesn't he, our Barney? But it's been another fantastic drive by Simon Povey. He's needed to turn his championship around after I made his life hell at Zandvoort, basically. He took pole position at Zolder and won at Zolder. He took pole position here as well at Spa. And unless something drastic happens now, he's going to win at Spa as well. It's going to be his 3rd win of the season, matching Ed May on race wins. He'll close the championship gap down to just 7 points with 5 races to go. But still, with 250 points on the table. It's going to be a high-scoring championship, that's for sure. The guys right at the top level, or the top end of the order, have just been amazing so far this season. It's hard to see a single chink in the armour for any of them. But Povey, after changing to the Aston Martin, has really clicked with it. And it looks to me like this is going to continue. Ed May won't be completely shaking in his boots, though. You know, he's not completely over the horizon. Ed's still carrying on with his same strong pace that we've seen from him time and time again. Some dominant victories at places like Daytona, Silverstone, and Zandvoort as well. That trio made Ed look absolutely invincible. This man's looking pretty invincible right now, though, isn't he? Into the bus stop for the final time. Hands together in chat, everybody, wherever you may be. Simon Povey takes his 3rd win of the season in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. Round 7 goes his way in the Aston Martin for Tall and Taller Motorsport. Ed May is going to get a 2nd place. Strong points for him. And Mark Baxter-Jones, welcome back, buddy, gets another podium. That's a 100% podium record for him, ahead of Mattis Niger, James Cummings and Dan Bathy, yet again scoring strong points in their championship campaigns. And Gary Tall is going to come across the line to finish in 7th position. Pretty sure that's going to equal his best finish of the championship. It is. That's his 3rd 7th place finish this season. Stephen Haley, 8th after starting 14th on the grid. Great drive. Stuart Clark, what a great drive from him. He started 17th on the grid and he's going to finish 9th. Really, really well-deserved drive that by Stuart. Nice and tidy. Great battles. And Byron Crawford rounding out your top 10. Well, that was mega. Absolutely mega stuff by those guys. Great positions gained by Stuart Clark, but Simon Povey, well, what can you say? Pretty untouchable, isn't he? Pretty untouchable. Very, very strong pace all the way through from Simon. The final few finishes are coming across the line now as we look at this footage, but Fausto Pinto has finished 14th, ahead of Oliver Carwadine, Paul Stout, Danny Jones. Philip Hopley is going to be next up. John Roberts recovered to 12th, actually, after having a 3rd pit stop. That's not a bad result at all, is it? Very well done to him. But this is your race winner, Simon Povey. We'll see again the moment that he took the checkered flag. Out of the final corner. No crazy celebrations or anything, just, I imagine, a lot of relief. Andy Marston had crossed the line just in front of him. We just wait now for Philip Hopley to come across the line in his Porsche. And there he is. Andy Marston is classified as finishing, I think. No, actually, he's still got to do it. So he gets a bit of airtime, does the boss man. He's going to be the last car to cross the line. And then we will get our result. He's flashing the lights as well. I'm pretty sure he's probably got the broadcast on in the background as well. A number of the drivers do listen to it, actually, while they are racing. A wonderful looking Team SRM McLaren bounces its way through the final chicane. And Andy completes the field here at Spa Francorchamps for round 7 of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. Well, I hope you enjoyed that one, everybody. I certainly did. Another absolute belter of a race. A real shame for those two drivers there, though, Dominic Brennan and Lewis Ward. Absolutely gutted for those guys in that one. But that's racing sometimes, I'm afraid. Simon Povey wins then 7.4 seconds pretty much ahead of Ed May. Another strong performance by both of them. Incredible to see how close this championship is between those pair. Mark Baxter-Jones finishes third. Again, 100% podium record for him. Mattis Niger finishes fourth, more strong points. James Cummings and Dan Bathy, same again for those two, fifth and sixth. Gary Toll, seventh. Stephen Haley in eighth. Stuart Clark, fantastic drive by Stuart, into ninth. Byron Crawford finishes in 10th. Rob Sharp is 11th, ahead of John Roberts. Great recovery by John to still be less than a minute down after 3 pit stops. Fair play. Paul Goffin finishes 13th, ahead of Fausto Pinto. Next, Oliver Carwadine and Paul Stout. Danny Jones 17th, and Philip Hopley in 18th position. Andy Marston was the last car on the lead lap. Lewis Ward will still be classified in 20th place, ahead of Dominic Brennan in 21st. The cars joining them one lap down were Stephen Kershaw, Charlie Stout, Ralph Mayer and Jared Coleman, as well as Tom Slater actually. And then the cars out of the race earlier on. Mark Johnson, Johnny Elia, and at the bottom there, Andrew Soper. Rob Sharp saying that Stuart Clark and Byron Crawford, we were basically locked together for the whole race. That was terrific fun. They've certainly enjoyed themselves. Rob Sharp and, Stuart actually saying that he was sorry for pushing Byron off at one point, but we didn't see that. Byron said it was absolutely fine and a really good battle. Mark Baxter-Jones says, what a great race. Fausto Pinto also agreeing as well. We've got a few drivers waiting to have a chat with us, and one driver I want to speak to actually made up quite a number of places in that one, and I'm sure he'll be very, very happy about it. Stephen Haley joins me in the chat. Stephen, your Aston Martin looked pretty solid in that race, mate. I mean, it's looked like a good car all season, but here it really seemed to stand out a little bit more.
Chaz. Yeah. No, really. If you'd have said before the race I'd have got 8th, I'd have laughed at you. But the pace was solid and consistent. Really, the car felt really good. Rode the curbs beautifully. It had a fantastic battle with John as well. I'm not quite sure what happened to him towards the end. We kind of both pitted together. And he ended up having to pit again for the next lap, so I'm not sure whether he picked up a drive-through or not. I don't know.
Yeah, I was a bit disappointed to see that, to be fair, because it was a very, very good battle. It was one of those intriguing battles. You know, you weren't going at each other lap after lap. He was just constantly there in your mirrors, wasn't he, just putting that pressure on?
Absolutely. Absolutely sweating buckets in the old VR. I felt like I had the pace on him while I was behind him. But then again, as soon as you get past somebody and you know the roughly the same kind of pace as you, you're always kind of watching in your mirrors. And I think I was watching in my mirrors just that too little bit too much, I think.
John's just said in the chat actually that he got done for pit lane speeding on the way out.
Oh, no.
He turned the pit lane speed limiter off at the lights, not at the line. So
that's a massive shame.
That's why it's gone to pot.
That's a massive shame. Good for you there, John.
It did look like a really good race, though. I mean, Spa never disappoints, to be fair. In 2 weeks' time, though, we go to Hockenheim. What do you make of that as a circuit? Because I think it's a belter, personally.
It's great. It's a solid circuit. It's Hockenheim. I really do like it. I'm not too sure how the Aston will take the hairpin, but I'll look forward to that. That should be really cool.
Well, to be fair, it's never a circuit that's sort of on the top of my list when I think of places I'd like to race. But honestly, every race I've ever commentated on there has always been an absolute beauty. I'm aware that we're dropping a few frames on the stream right now as well, so if I sound awful, Stephen, then I apologise. Is there anyone you'd like to give a quick shout out to, though, before I let you go, mate?
I'm not sure if she'll be watching, but my beautiful wife Charlotte and all the SimSport Racing international guys. And yourself, of course, Chaz.
Thank you very much, mate. Pleasure to speak to you as always, buddy. Well done on a great drive, and we'll see you at Hockenheim. Nice one.
Cheers, buddy. Thank you. Keep up the
Cheers.
great work.
Thank you. Well, there we go. Stephen Haley, after a wonderful drive through the field. Certainly enjoyed himself in that one, I imagine. And somebody will drag in for an interview now after moving them up the most places in that race into 14th from 24th on the grid. Fausto Pinto joins me. Fausto, you're the only BMW out there, mate, but that looked like good fun.
Yeah, it was good fun. an horrible qualify, but a great race. It's a great race for the Beamer, and it's great to be the only one representing the BMW on the track. I have to congratulate the team for bringing me such a good car to Spa.
And what was it like in terms of the sort of positives and negatives of the BMW? Because I know that sometimes cars like that, they can have a real massive strength about them or a real horrible weakness. Where did you feel like the BMW was good tonight?
After the hairpin on the straight, so the fast hairpin that you got to go down and up, it's really the best for the Beamers. It just grabs into the dead corners and goes like hell, and you can really feel the speed of the BMW like in Daytona. The worst part is the slow corners. The slow corners it's a bummer for the Beamer because it's really slow out of the corners. But it's great to drive this car. It's a great car, and this track suits the BMW like hell.
Well, it certainly looked like it went well, mate. I mean, the top speed, like you say, is one of the main things around here that you need to sort of have absolutely switched on at all times in this sort of car. But it's it's an interesting balance, and it's good to see the BMW still being represented, to be honest with you. I look forward to seeing what you can do with it in future. Speaking of said future, we go to Hockenheim next. Is that a track you're looking forward to?
I never race on Hockenheim. I think so. Especially with the Beamers, every track that I take the BMW is the first time for me. So, and after some practice, I think the Beamer will come on the fast parts will go okay, but it's still going to be very slow on the slow part.
Mm-hmm.
But let's see.
Well, we'll certainly find out soon. But is there anyone you'd like to give a quick shout out to while I've got you?
Yeah, I have to give a quick and great shout to João that cannot participate on this event. It's been a great inspiration and a great supporter for my progress in iRacing, and it goes to him.
Nicely said, buddy. Well, great to hear it, and thank you once again for coming in to chat to me. We'll see you at Hockenheim.
Yeah, Hockenheim. Bye-bye.
Great stuff. Good to speak to Fausto Pinto there. I won't lie, scared the living daylights out of me when he first joined and was that loud, but we modify and we work on. But someone that certainly modified tonight and worked on was Ed May. Ed, again, right up there in the championship hunt, still up there with Simon in the championship, but still he just had that little bit of an edge tonight once again, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, but coming into this round, I always knew it was going to be damage limitation. I hadn't put barely any practice in. I think I've done about 3 laps before jumping on for tonight because, as I'm sure you're aware, Chaz, I've got my exams coming up for university, so that's been really taking a priority at the moment. So I knew coming into this, I wouldn't have the pace to match Simon. He's too quick. But to, come through and get a second place, I'm very happy. Sort of in no man's land after the first pit stop, sort of faster than the chasing pack behind, but slower than Simon. It was a bit of a boring race, but I enjoyed that fight at the start. That was mega.
Yeah, it did look like a lot of fun early on, and to be honest, I think you need to sort your priorities out. But still, it was it was great to see the car still going well. I like the livery, but you just need to give Andy a poke about the metallic bits for me because it ruins the decal layer. However, it's always nice to have a fresh lick of paint on the car, isn't it? There's some sort of inspiration about it when you drive it round.
Yeah, I don't know if it helped give me the extra few horsepower to stay in second because there were some very, very quick drivers out there. I mean, I have no idea what on earth happened to Lewis Ward again. He's just having rotten luck. He was really up there in terms of pace, and at the beginning he seemed to drop back and come back, then drop back again. MBJ as well. If I wasn't able to get that gap at the start, I think he would have probably had me. So huge credit to all of them, and fingers crossed the rest of the championship is a little bit more in my favour. These past 2 rounds I knew weren't going to favour me whatsoever, but hopefully at Hockenheim, I know I won't be able to put practice in because again that's in the middle of my exams, but I'll still be able to bag a decent result.
Well, we know that slipstreaming is important at Hockenheim like it was here as well, so if you can stay in that group it can make things a little bit easier, so fingers crossed that can be the case. Is there any sort of extra hope in terms of Hockenheim though? Is it a circuit you enjoy?
I tend to do alright around there, but I know when you don't put the practice in, you're not going to get those good results that everyone else is able to get. The likes of Simons, your Marks, everyone that puts in the hours really gets a good benefit from it. So I'll see what I can do, but realistically, I don't think I'll be able to put any amount of serious laps in before Hockenheim.
Well, we still look forward to it either way, Ed. It's always good to have you on the grid, and of course up there challenging with Simon. It's a nice close championship battle once again. I'm sure not quite the way you'd like it right now, but still, it's great to have it. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before I let you go?
Not at all, Chaz. I love our challenge. It's great to have this fight, and no matter where I come, I'm happy. I think first, second, and third get a bottle of bubbly at the end of the season, so it doesn't matter from first, second, or third. The bottle of bubbly will definitely make me feel better. But yeah, thanks to you, Chaz, of course. And
Thank you.
Annie Marston, who does a lot of stuff behind the scenes, and of course to a teammate Andy Hopley and Philip as well. He's been doing very well behind the scenes as well, so huge shout out to him. And then Open Homes for Children, big shout out to them. If you can support them in any way you can, please do. They're a wonderful charity.
Cracking stuff, Ed. Well, it should be good to see you get that bottle of bubbly anyway. You never know. When you pass your exams, I'm not going to say if, when you pass your exams, you can pop the bubbly open and celebrate like you've won the championship, even if you do, and even if you don't. We'll have to see. But great to speak to you once again, mate. Lovely, lovely evening for you, and, well, we'll see you at Hockenheim.
Yeah, see you at Hockenheim, and I think I'll be seeing you, Chaz, in a couple of weeks for the F3s.
Well, you'll be seeing me in a couple of hours, actually, for Formula 1 as well.
Oh, I've not done any practice, and I won't do. Anyway.
I'll see you soon,
I'll be
buddy.
a terror. I'll just try not to, muck up my qualifying. I pick my words carefully there. Muck up my qualifying. Anyway, see ya.
Cheers, Ed. What a guy. Yes, you can see Ed back in action again tomorrow, actually, if you watch the CDM Formula 1 World Championship, where we have the British Boar Prix coming from Silverstone, the old school Silverstone legacy, with the Pro Mazdas dressed up as 1997 Formula 1 cars. Anyway, that has been all for now, though, from me. Simon Povey takes another very, very impressive victory. Ed May takes another very impressive second place. And Mark Baxter-Jones, on his return to the championship, continues a 100% podium record. You love to see it. It's great to have these guys coming back into the championship once again and still continuing the fight. As mentioned there, everybody, that is all from me tonight. Thank you very much for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure here on Chaz Draycott Media. This has been the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. I've been Chaz Draycott, and I'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Have a good one.
Opportunistic, still rubbing panels as they go together. It's folded the wing mirror in on Gerardo's car. Misano is such a difficult circuit for these guys to get right. There's a lot of start-stop sections around the back. It's a very, very quick section as well.
It's a fantastic start from the 23. They're 4 wide there by the look of it.